Before sunset, he was walked into the hall where the hobbit and the dwarves were having supper, waiting on Bera's wonderful animals. As they had been all day of Bera that had been seen and heard nothing since the night before, they were getting puzzled. "Where is our host? And where have you been all day yourself?" they all cried. One question at a time and not till after supper. "I haven't had a bite since breakfast." At last Gandalf pushed away his plate and jug. He had eaten 2 whole loaves, with masses of butter and honey and clotted cream, and drunk at least a quart of mead, and he took out his pipe. "I will answer that second question first," he said. "But bless me, this is a splendid place for smoke rings." Indeed, for a long time they could get nothing more out of him. He was so busy sending smoke rings, dodging around pillars of the hall, changing into all sorts of different shapes and colors, and setting them at last chasing one another out of the hole in the roof. They must have looked very queer from outside, popping out into the air one after another. Green, blue, red, silver, gray, yellow, white, big ones, little ones dodging through big ones, and joining through into figure 8s, and going off like a flock of birds into the distance. "I have been picking our bear tracks," he said at last. "There must be a regular bear meeting outside here last night. I soon saw that Baron could not have made them all. There were so far too many of them, and they were various sizes too. I should say there were little bears, large bears, ordinary bears, and gigantic big bears, all dancing outside, and from dark to nearly dawn. They came from almost every direction except from the west over the river from the mountains. In that direction only one set of footprints led, none coming, only ones give way from here. I followed these as far as the Carrock. There I disappointed. It disappeared into the river, but the water was too deep and strong beyond the rock for me to cross. It is not easy enough, as you remember, to get from this bank to the Carrock, my friend, but on the outer side, it's a cliff standing up from a wearing channel. I had to walk miles before I found a place where the river was wide and shallow enough for me to wade and swim, and then miles back again to pick up the tracks again. But at the time it was too late for me to follow them far. They went straight off into the direction of the pine woods on the east side of the misty mountain, Misty Mountains, where we had our pleasure little party. There was the wargs. The night before too ended Gandalf, and he sat long whilst silent. Bilbo thought he knew what the wizard meant. "What shall we do?" he cried. "If he leads all the wargs and the goblins down here, we shall be caught and killed." "I thought you said he was not a friend of theirs." "So I did. And don't be silly, you'd better go to bed. Your wits are sleepy." The hobbit felt quite crushed, and as there seemed nothing else to do, he did go to bed. While dwarves were singing songs, he dropped asleep, still puzzling about his head about Baron, till he dreamed a dream of hundreds of black bears dancing slow, heavy dances round and round in the moonlight in the courtyard. Then he woke up, and everyone else was sleeping, and he had the same screaming, scuffling and snuffling and growling as before. Next morning they were all awakened by Baron himself. "So here you are still," he said. He picked up the hobbit and laughed. "Not even up the wargs or goblins or wicked bears yet, I see." And he poked Mr. Baggins' waistcoat more disrespectfully. "Little Bunny is getting nice and fat again on bread and honey," he chuckled. "Come have some more." So they all went to breakfast with him, Baron was most jolly for a change. Indeed, he seemed to be in splendidly good humor, and set them all laughing with his funny stories. Nor did they have to wonder long where he had been or why he was so nice to them, for he told them himself he had been over the river and right back into the mountains, from which you can guess what, that he could travel quickly in bear shape any rate from the blunt wolf blade, and soon found out that part of their story was true. But he had found more than that. He had caught a warg and a goblin wandering in the woods. From these he had got news. The goblin patrols were still hunting with wargs for the dwarves, and they were fiercely angry because of the death of the great goblin, and also because of the burning of the chief wolf's nose and the death from the wizard's fire of many of them. But he guessed that there were more wickedness than this afoot, and that a great raid of the whole goblin army with their wolf allies into the land shadowed by the mountains on the men and creatures that might soon be made to feed the dwarves, and or to take vengeance on the men and creatures that lived there, and food they thought must be sheltering them. It was a good story, that of yours, said Baron, but I like it still better now. I am sure it is true. You must forgive my not taking your word. If you lived never the edge of my Mirkwood, you would take the word of no one that you did not know as well as your brother or Peter. As it is, I can only say that I have hurried home as fast as I could to see that you were safe, and to offer you any help that I can. I shall think more kindly, and I'll offer you any help that I can. I shall think more kindly, and to offer you, I think more kindly of dwarves after this. Killed the great goblin, killed the great goblin. He chuckled fiercely to himself. But what did you do to the goblin and wargs? He babbled suddenly. Come and see, said Baron. And they followed around the house. The goblin head was stuck outside the gate, and a warg skin was nailed to a tree just behind. Baron was a fierce enemy, but now he was their friend, and Gandalf, though it wise enough to tell him their whole story, and the reasons of their journey, so that they could get the most help he could offer. This is what he promised to do for him. He would provide ponies for each of them, and a horse for Gandalf for their journey to the forest, and he would lade them with food to last them for weeks with care, and pack as it to be easy as them for weeks with to be as easy as possible to carry nuts, flour, sealed jars of dried fruits, and red earthenware pots and of honey, and twice baked cakes that would keep good a long time, and on a little of which they could march far. The making of these was one of his secrets, but honey was in them, as in most of his foods, and they were good to eat, though they made they made one thirsty. Water, he said, they would not need to carry this side of the forest, for there were streams and springs along the road. But your way through Mirkwood is dark, dangerous, and difficult, he said. Water is not easy to find there, nor food. The time is not yet come for nuts, though it may be past and gone indeed before you get to the other side, and nuts are always all that grows there fit for food. In the wild things are dark, queer, and savage. I will provide you with skins and for carrying water, and I will give you some bows and arrows but I doubt very much whether anything you find in Mirkwood will be wholesome to eat or drink. There is one stream there, I know, black and strong, which crosses the pass, that you should neither drink of nor bathe in it, for I have heard that it carries enchantment and a great drowsiness and forgetfulness, and in the dim shadows of the place I don't think you will shoot anything wholesome or unwholesome without straying from the path. That what you must not do for any reason. That is all the advice I can give you beyond the edge of the forest. I cannot help you much. You must depend on your luck and your courage, and the food I sent with you. At the gate of the forest, I must ask you to send back my horse and my ponies. But I wish you all speed, and my house is open to you if you come back this way. They thanked him, of course, with many bones and sweeping of their hoods, and with many of and at your service, or master of the wide wooden holes. But their spirits sank at his dangerous as grave woods, and they all felt that the adventure was far more dangerous than they had thought. While all the time, even if they passed all the perils of the road, the dragon was waiting at the end. And all that morning they were busy with preparations. Soon after midday they were ate with Baron for the last time, and after